Last week was a wild way to start a season, to say the very least. Some of the top Dirt Midget drivers in all of iRacing were tested to the limit at Lanier Raceplex, having to deal with flips, spins, and a hornet's nest full of hungry competitors. However, it was Harry Stewart who dominated them all, leading 38 laps on the way to the checkered flag. Tonight, those same racers are all set to face a different challenging track at Limaland Motorsports Park. Who will come out on top at Northwest Ohio's quarter mile of thunder? We're about to find out on the Global SimRacing channel. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the virtual Limaland Motorsports Park in Lima, Ohio for the second round of the CSI Shocks Fall Series 15 and over class season. I'm Justin Prince alongside the booth tonight is Chris Bobby. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Chris, tonight we'll see us at a fairly unique facility. Not only Limaland Motorsports Park was one of the first dirt tracks iRacing scanned in preparation for this side of the service, it is also owned and operated by the University of Northern Ohio. This offers students the chance to race at a professional level while attending the university. What can you tell us about this circuit?
Well, this is a very fast, very challenging quarter-mile course. We're going to see very quick laps here in the 12-second range. 16 degrees of banking in the corners. And located just outside of Lima, Ohio, as you mentioned. It's going to be a very exciting race. And, of course, to show us the quick way around this tricky little oval, we're going to throw things down to our virtual lap guide.
Welcome to Limaland. This unique 3/10 of a mile oval nestled in Alida, Ohio provides a unique challenge to the competitors. Limaland has two very short straights coupled together with two very tight corners, making momentum king. With it being dirt, astute drivers will notice the cushion change and move and are able to adapt themselves to the constantly changing conditions. 16 degrees of banking in the corners gives way to 8 degrees on the straights. The corners themselves do not lend to being against the tire barriers at the very bottom of the track at all, as that is where the track really flattens out. Speed is made up against the wall, as well as a little fling in dirt while you're at it, with the banking lending drivers plenty of attack chances. The track is owned and operated by the University of Northern Ohio, UNOH for short, and hosts Friday night racing throughout the racing season. This offers the university students a unique opportunity to compete on a professional level while attending school. Limaland is special on the surface because it was one of the first dirt tracks that iRacing scanned to start the dirt model. On top of the local heroes battling it out every Friday night, the track in real life plays host to the UMP Modifieds, who put on a thrilling show every time they descend upon the track. All in all, Limaland provides amazing racing, and it's an absolute driver and fan favorite. Dirt racing popularity is on the rise in the nation, and it's on the rise in iRacing. This is our guide to Limaland. Enjoy the show.
That was a look at your lap guide for tonight's action here at Limaland as we get all set to go. Last week, for those that missed round number one, it was Harry Stewart who dominated, leading 38 of the 40 laps in the feature race, winning over Colby Stidham. Also, drivers like Axon, Newhofen, Brady, and Miller were amongst the front runners in this one. Chris, those drivers looking to continue to build momentum here into round number two.
Yeah, we've got a tremendous field of talent here. A lot of drivers with real-world experience in these cars that are bringing their skills here to the iRacing world. And I think it's going to make for yet another very exciting race. We kind of talked about it off air. You know, we had some laps under caution, a pretty significant amount last week, but the racing was so exciting, you forgot there was even any caution.
Yeah, there was a lot of excitement, to say the very least, at the track, but I'd like to remind you again of the race details for this evening. Let's quickly take a look, if we can, towards that direction as we follow these cars around this racetrack. It's round number 2 of 5. As mentioned, there is one drop week for these Dirt Midget drivers. The setups are fixed for this series, but here's the key things. The top 12 qualifiers In just a few moments or so, in just 3 laps of attempts, we'll be locked into the show. Everybody else will have to go through the 2 heats. The top 3 in those fields go into the A main, but have to start all the way in the back, Chris. Track position with just 40 laps to work with, and so quick lap times could be very key.
Oh, that's a great point there, Justin. Quick time in practice right now is a 12.616. That's a very, very fast lap with only 40 laps planned for the A main. That's going to mean that if you have to start deep in the field and transfer in through the heats, you have your work cut out for you.
Indeed, absolutely. Let's take a quick look at the racing conditions, by the way, temperature-wise for tonight. Want to touch upon these as you see your times on the left side of your screen. On the upper right-hand corner, you see that 78 degrees Fahrenheit, the air temp. Track temp is fairly cool on the dirt, just 76 degrees in total Fahrenheit on the racetrack.
Yeah, not to mention relative humidity is a big thing on these dirt tracks too. Not a very high percentage of humidity out here today, so it's gonna make for possibly a drier track as we go through the.
You talked about a lot of the competition, more than 29 plus drivers registered for tonight's race. Amongst the rear-wheel drivers making their first starts of the season, just so happens to be currently resting in the garage area inside the top 10 on that practice pylon. It's the 83 of Chance Crum, third-year generation race car driver. He is prepared to try and chase after that top prize tonight for this series championship.
Yeah, that's another thing too with one drop week being allowed for these drivers. There's some people making their first starts tonight that still are very alive in the championship hopes as well.
Indeed, these drivers that are practicing on the racetrack, remind you, are fighting for the season championship. That includes a Samsung tablet with PitLogic and a $500 shock package discount. That's a $750 value. Second place gets an apparel gift pack from CSI and $250 in a shock pack discount. And then the third place will see an apparel gift pack and a $100 shock package discount. That $150 total value. So these drivers, again, we've mentioned it in the first round, fighting not just for an iRacing championship, but fighting for stuff that can really advance yourself in your racing career. Whether it's the PitLogic to help out with your setups, or whether it's the shock package to be able to buy those said shocks for your real-world race cars.
Yeah, and with these drivers that are active on the short tracks throughout the country, that is going to play a huge positive for them if they can take that package.
Right now, looking at some of the drivers such as Manfrey. Currently, Manfrey inside the top 10 in the practice session. To be precise, 8th on the board. Mahaffey currently in the 12.7s. Top time is a 12.616 rather for Tim Ryan. Austin Irvine, Cole Newhaufen, along with Will Sylvester and Garrett Hulsey round out the current top 5. As you take a look at Sylvester here, your expectations for the race tonight is we're a few minutes away from qualifying.
Well, if last week was any indication, we're going to see a lot of passing, a lot of great, exciting racing action, and hopefully a few more of those slide jobs that we saw so many times last.
If you were one of the drivers on the racetrack tonight as well, would you prefer to ride the cushion or ride to the bottom? Because it is a wide racing surface you see on this onboard with LB, for example. And you risk down at that bottom line, there are white tires indented into the racing surface that can destroy your suspension. What would you prefer racing line-wise tonight?
That's actually what I was going to mention when you first broached the subject, were those tires buried in the dirt. Those can sneak right up on you, and I would probably want to keep my distance as much as possible, but then again, you are going to see some drivers that are probably a little more daring and willing to be digging on the inside of the track and give it their all down there and not be afraid of those tires like somebody like me is.
I think you also have to make sure you say, as we just seen, don't accidentally turn your competitors and try and focus on what's ahead of you, such as guys like Kenny Miller. Kenny Miller trying to gain some ground. Again, remember, just 18 of these drivers will make the show once we begin qualifying. And already I'm surprised by seeing so many drivers struggling a little bit to make sure their car stays on 4 wheels here.
Yeah, it's I guess for this type of car, it's not super out of the question with especially how tight quarters this track is. I mean,
Right.
it is pretty wide, but still being a quarter mile in length, it there's not a lot of room to put your elbows out, so to speak.
Indeed, right now there's about 3 minutes left on the practice session, up on the ticker on your left side of your screen once again, as we continue to prepare for tonight's racing action. I'm curious to see, though, if drivers such as, we mentioned, Harry Stewart can build off the momentum from last week. Remember, he was your race winner and dominated. He got the track position in part because of the full qualifying invert that put him from the back end of the qualifying spectrum, Chris, to the front of the field on the front row for the green flag. How important do you think that will be again tonight to try and win the race and try and ride on forward, such as Austin Irvine as he rode on through that yellow cone?
Well, I definitely think starting up front's going to be a huge bonus here. Like I said, with the quarter-mile track and very short laps, 40 laps is not a very long time, so the closer to the front you can get, it's going to definitely work to your advantage.
And you can tell drivers like Irvine, I think, are currently trying to check their equipment and make sure they're all set to go, because that will also be important as this race progresses. Looking at Jay Garrickson now, he is towards the bottom end, and we talked about those fast times. The separation from the bottom of the ticker to the top of the scoring pylon, still in the 12.6s, all the way down to just the 13.3s. That might not sound like a lot, just 0.7 of a second, but at this racetrack, as emphasized a couple times already, that is an eternity in terms of pace, and could see yourself getting lapped by a 40-lap features checkered flag.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference the track size can make in that relative distance. 0.7 on 1.5 mile big intermediate speedway is not all that much, but here having the field separated by that much on a quarter-mile track, it's not a huge time gap, but over a 40-lap distance, it could see things get a little tough for the leader when it comes to getting around lap traffic.
If you're drivers such as Tyler Chalk or Peyton Grease or Mahafri or Irvine, how do you try and recover from last week, try and put that opening round behind you? Because they were amongst the drivers that were either multiple laps down or did not make it to the checkered flag.
Well, thankfully, with having the drop week in this series, you just kind of got to put it behind you, I think. You really need to kind of put your head down and make sure you make the most of the remaining 4 races, because you've already used your mulligan. So it's going to be time to put your head down and really try to get digging on making the best of what you have left in the season.
About 20 seconds away until the start of qualifying, as the drivers will get ready to dig their way around the racing circuit. Let's take a moment to look at your qualifying details presented by PitLogic. PitLogic is the most comprehensive chassis and shock setup application on the market. Available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. You can also check it out at competitionsuspension.com/CSI-Logic-app. Qualifying details, again, 3 laps is the distance, just 5 laps to get those times in. Top 12 drivers will advance. The track state is a slight adjustment compared to the first round, just 15% track state to start things off. It will then carry over to the heats, which will then carry over to the race for tonight. So in other words, buckle up. You have to make sure you get your laps in with no mistakes.
Yeah, and on these dirt tracks, that can be a huge challenge, just trying to keep her off the wall long enough to get a couple clean laps in.
Following along with Randall, as he's one of the many first drivers already out on the racetrack trying to put in their lap times. He's riding along the bottom to the middle. First lap comes across. A decent time for him, a 12.8. Fastest so far the first lap for drivers, currently in the 12.6s for Brendan Rogers. As we follow along now with Rogers, again, he is the fastest car on lap number 1. We'll see if he can bump up the time of the second lap. A 13.416 doesn't pick up too much time. We do see Joey Ancona, one of the Swindell Racing speed lap machines, make their way to the top of the pylon as well. These times are going to continue to fluctuate as these drivers all jump onto the racetrack as quick as they can here, Chris.
Yeah, just 5 minutes to have 3 laps to get underway, and these lap times are coming in hot and heavy right now.
But currently on top of the pylon with a 12.672. Looking now at Colby Baker. Baker now heading towards Axum, rather, as he bumps his way up towards the top half of the field, just outside the top 5, in fact. He's in P number 6 in a decent position. Already, a vast majority of the field has put in their qualifying times up on the pylon. It's Ancona, Rogers, and Irvine currently rounding out the top 5. One of the drivers trying to bump up their movement in the pylon, though, is Chase Crum, along with Irvine. Take a look at Austin Irvine. He is currently 3rd in the qualifying board. 12.686. Wheels come off the track. He rides the catch fence. His qualifying is done. Only a couple drivers left to go. Austin Thomas now moving his way around the racetrack as he tries to pick up some time.
Just barely a 10th between making the show and running the heat races right now.
Yeah. Sticking around with Justin Thomas. The Motorsports machine trying to pick up the extra time. Can he get it is the question. No. In the 12.812 range, as mentioned, about a couple 100s off from making the show. 3 drivers yet to make qualifying runs so far. Sam Johnson, Tim Ryan, Tyler Chalk. Rest of the drivers have at least put in 2 or more qualifying lap attempts. Some of the drivers also taking the chance to get used to the circuit and just trying to figure out where they want to run the racing lines. Tim Ryan is now coming out of the pit lane as he builds up speed for his first qualifying lap. The Logitech Gialta Esports machine trying to ride the top line to build up a speed as he takes the green flag. Howard Chalk also on the racetrack. Let's follow with Ryan as he's going to be one of the first drivers to come across the stripe. Chalk just came across with a 12.983, 12.826 for Ryan. So Ryan needing to pick up about a half a tenth at least to have a chance to get inside the top 12. Tower Chalk also in the situation to gain time. Both the drivers did pick up some pace. However, Ryan's back in 19th. Chalk is in 24th position, Chris.
That's very interesting. Oh, Tim Ryan now breaking into the locked in. He's now...
Whoa!
Tim Ryan looks like he was 7.
Yeah, Tim Ryan absolutely put in a blistering 3rd and final lap time to finish the qualifying session. To finish things off, the time for Tim Ryan was a 12.748. Here's the top 12 that finished the qualifying session. It's Joey Ancona, who had the fastest time, followed by Brendan Rogers, Austin Irvine, Chase Crum, Chase Randall, Kenny Miller, Tim Ryan, Jake Erickson, Emerson Exum, along with Harry Stewart, Roman Gephardt, and Justin Brester are the 12 drivers that made the cut and will be part of that inversion process for the feature race. Everybody else, though, Chris, will have to go through the heats, and just like round number 1, they are stacked.
Yeah, we have a deep talent pool in this series to begin with, but when you throw in the fact that these guys only have the top 3 drivers locking in from the heat races, means these 2 heats we have coming up are going to be very hot and very exciting.
Drivers just about all set to go. Let's take a look who's going to be a part of heat race number 1 for tonight's racing action for these 15 and over Dirt Midget racers. It is Colby Baker, who is on the pole for heat race number 1. He had a 12.779 in qualifying, followed by Jason Bright. And round number 2, it is Billy Rulli, along with Gary Holtley, with Christian Bruno rounding out the top 5. Bo Stensel starts in 6th with Peyton Greaves. He made the show last week. He'll have to try and charge up to the top 3 this week. He'll start alongside Brent Hobson. Hunter Crum, the younger brother of Chase Crum, starts in 9th position. And rounding up the 10 drivers in heat race number 1 is Bryson Smith. That's a look at your drivers in the grid for heat race number 1. Once again, let's take a look at the heat race details presented by PitLogic. So here is what these drivers will be expecting. As mentioned, the track conditions carry over from the qualifying. No yellow flags in the heat race, but a 15 lap distance. Top 3 drivers make the show, meaning it's going to be important to be mistake-free, incident-free, and to find your way up to the front as quick as you can.
Also, picking your battles are going to be a huge part of this as well. If you're locked into third and you have a good cushion on fourth, maybe not the time to start fighting it out for second. This is going to be a thinking man's race, so to speak.
Lights are out on top of the iRacing official pace truck as it makes its way down the back straightaway. These are some quick laps around this circuit as they get ready to hit the loud pedals. Pace truck pulls off. Baker, a bit of a checkup on the inside as they grip the green flag. We're underway for heat race number 1 as Bright already makes contact with Baker. Fight for second, sees Woolley bump his way outside the top 3.
You got pretty much the whole field as close as you're going to get on that start, Justin. And they're still fighting it out as they, oh, we got a car going around, looked like.
That was Bryson Smith. He's already pulled off the racing surface. His heat race is done as more cars collide in the back of the field. Hunter Cram amongst them. Rowley was also involved. One other car also trying to get back going. They still fight at the front. Baker, Bright, Stencil is the top 3, but Christian Bruno tries to slide his way along the cushion, trying to gain ground. Instead, he loses a spot to Brent Hobson. And Hobson just got turned around as you follow along with Bruno, while Stencil gets flipped up into the air.
Chaos breaking out here, Justin, as these drivers try to make their way into the top 3 to make it on to the A main. But it is not easy going so far. These guys are very aggressive.
Just 4 cars in contention for the top 3 positions. Bruno is currently on the bubble spot. Billy Rowley, remember, who started towards the front and got pinballed a couple times, is driving his green and white machine just outside of the top positions, 2/10 off the pace. Bright and Baker inside the top 3 as well. Let's take a look at Rowley. That 79 machine trying to pick up speed halfway through heat race number 1, Chris.
Yeah, he's on the outside looking in right now, which is a very desperate place to be. He's going to be trying to put in some lightning quick laps to try to break down that margin and hopefully get his way into the A main.
Here's the problem, though, with Rowley. He's running in the 12.9s. The cars in front of him are still running in the 12.8s, just underneath that mark. He is the slowest of the top 4. But Kobe Baker, he's held on to the race lead. He already had contact a couple times over, but that 86 machine looking very comfortable, going from the top along the straights and trying to get towards that middle to lower line through the slick stuff, as well as trying to find the dry patches in the turns.
Yeah, it definitely looks like instead of gaining like he'd like to, Rowley is definitely losing some ground here as Christian Bruno settles into a pretty solid run in third.
Approaching 3 laps to go in heat race number 1. These drivers continue to fight hard. Bright is still in second spot, trying to reel in Baker. He gained some ground last time by. He will now get the 2 fingers, the peace sign, up at the flag stand next time by. Bruno is currently holding on to third position. Rowley, though, still slowing now, picking up some time. You see them in the backdrop as they get the 2 to go signal. 2 to go this time by.
Yeah, you're riding along with Mr. Billy Rowley there, who's unfortunately watching the sand tick out of his hourglass on his hopes to try to make the feature.
White flag is out, about to turn to the checker flag. Heat race number 1 goes to Kobe Baker. Jason Bright finishes second. Christian Bruno rounds out the top 3 positions. Billy Rowley does not make the show, 1 spot short. Hobson, Greaves, Holsey, Stencil, Smith, Crum rounds out the 10 drivers who competed in heat race number 1. Heat race number 2 is about to get underway, where Michael Sellers will lead that group to the green flag. It'll be Will Sylvester. We talked about him a little bit. He was top 5 in practice. He'll start on the outside front row of heat race 2. Justin Thomas, he'll try and charge his way up into the feature alongside Joe Mahafri. Cody Lee, Tower Chalk, Hunter Brady, Cole Newhousen, Joey Amenti, along with Adam Albee, round out the 10 drivers in heat race number 2. This is the last heat race for these drivers and the last chance for them to punch their ticket into the show. And it looks like, Chris, the drivers getting important instructions as they can prepare for this heat race.
Yeah, definitely. Race director keeping a tight grip on the program here this evening, making sure these drivers get moving along very quick. These dirt shows are formatted very aggressively. They are just clicking along here through the program.
Absolutely. These drivers are ready to click some laps. Again, 15 laps is the distance for the heat races. Top 3 advance to get all set to go. Already, a lot of dry patches have developed near the bottom of the racetrack. Green flag is out. Sellers and Thomas with some great starts, but the Hornet's Nest already develops near 3 wide for second. Contact spins around the back cars. Mahalfi able to save it, but he's got a bit of damage as the top 5 get a bit of a cushion away from the rest of the pack.
They may have been safe from everybody else, but that top 5 is, like you mentioned, a hornet's nest, Justin. These drivers just inches from each other, it seems like, as they sail around this quarter-mile.
Amanti flipped over in the back of the field. We still keep on going. They make contact for 4th position. Brady and Sylvester getting doored around. This is allowing Connor Lee to hold on to the bubble spot while Justin Thomas continues to attack Sellers. The Sellers Racing 22 machine trying to use the bit of the bottom line. Thomas trying to use about a half a lane higher up, even going towards the cushion a bit in the 9 machine as they continue to fight back for 4th on back.
Yeah, this is about as best case scenario as it gets for Connor Lee with these drivers behind him all mixed up and fighting for position. That's going to make his chances of transferring in even better.
And back towards the front as we are under 9 laps to go, this time by in heat race number 2. Connor Lee still holds on to the transfer spot. Justin Thomas, Michael Sellers are your 2nd and 1st place drivers respectively. But there's a man that's slowly approaching. It is Cole Newhofen, one of the top dirt racers on the service in his matte black 21 machine. He is charging the corners and hard, trying to catch up to the 1.
Not to mention, he just put in one of the fastest laps of the program so far here just a lap or 2 ago. So he is definitely making that charge to get into the feature event.
Take a look at that racing line he is doing, trying to charge the bottom, go for a bit of a slide job. Now he's elected to go a bit higher up towards the cushion to try and build the momentum back up after losing a bit of speed. He's only got up to 5 laps to go this next time by to try and close the gap between him and Lee. The gap just 0.3 of a second. And it's going to be interesting if Newhofen can make this pass to make it into the show.
Well, he's definitely cut the margin down a significant amount, and looks like Connor Lee may be suffering from a lack of internet juice, maybe compromising his run here short.
It's going to make it interesting when the pass is made. Newhofen tries to go for the slide job, can't make it work for the bubble spot. 3 laps to go at the stripe. The top 2 drivers have stayed in the said top 2 for the time being. Newhofen, though, trying to charge hard to the bottom, still can't get to Lee quite yet, though. Lee holding on in his Lee Designs machine as you look back to Thomas riding pretty behind Sellers coming to the white flag. White flag is out for heat race number 2. Sellers looks to close it. Thomas looks to take the checker flag. And the number 9 machine charged to the bottom side. No, he can't. Collision for the bubble spot. Lee is dumped out of the way. Cole Newhofen takes the final position. He moves the 1 machine out of the way. The 21 of Cole Newhofen advances to the main show. LB, Lee, Brady, Sylvester, Chalk, Malhafri, and Amanti all do not make it to the show. And man, oh man, that is a way to get the final spot. Not a popular way, but at least he made it. These drivers will now get 5 minutes to prepare with these track conditions carrying over from the heat races, Chris, to prepare. What are your thoughts after the heat races?
Well, the bottom seemed to not work anywhere near as well as I expected here on such a wide track, but these drivers, obviously the racing, little crazy so far. A lot of aggression out of this field. That's kind of what surprised me throughout the heat races.
who are some of the drivers you're watching as we get ready for this feature?
Well, Cole Newhoffen, with that move at the end of his heat race, is probably thankful that Mr. Connor Lee didn't transfer into the A main, because there might be some scores to settle there. But we've got some quick drivers out there. I saw Tim Ryan just set a quick lap here in the warm-up session. Looks like that fastest lap just keeps falling off, so we're going to have some very fast drivers out there today, Justin.
The fastest lap in the warm-up session, for example, are in the 12.9s, slowest drivers in 13.2s at the moment on the scoring pylon. But again, as mentioned, 18 drivers will prepare for tonight's section, just moments away from the green flag, about 3 minutes. Want to discuss some of the drivers, though, that were part of the inversion process, because you got guys like Miller, Rando, and Chance Crum who made it into the show. Who are some of the guys you have stars next to that qualified their way in tonight?
Well, you got to think about somebody like a Harry Stewart, who did such a great job last week. He's obviously got some dirt track experience that seems to be working for him. Tim Ryan, I keep seeing his name flash across the screen throughout the night. He's a very quick driver as well. And you can't count out the guys like Austin Irvin that looked pretty solid in weeks past as well.
So continuing to work on the drivers once again. I want to discuss again Crum. We've seen the first time enter around in this 15 and over class. As mentioned, a third generation dirt racer trying to win the top prize. He's been in the top 10 consistently in practice qualifying, and now starting in the third position at the moment for tonight's feature race. Gonna be interested to see him and how he will perform in double-digit victories in 2019 alone for the Washington State driver. Chris?
Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently my push-to-talk button was not cooperating with me there. Yeah, Chance Crum, a name that's very noteworthy in short track racing throughout the Pacific Northwest, and it's going to be very great to see him out here in this field and see what he can do mixing it up in the virtual world.
For Chance Crum, he's actually going to be in his next event, just previously rather, had a race in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Tulsa Expo Center, and a 600 outlaw and a 600 non-wing. Had actually been racing the same type of cars, or similar type of cars I should rather say, just this past weekend at various different racetracks throughout the West Coast. Going to be one of the drivers to have to keep an eye on. But you got to keep an eye on drivers such as Tim Ryan, one of the top iRacing machines. We've seen him pick up a ton of pace in that 98 machine in qualifying. Was looking like he might have been one of the men out. Most of the drivers didn't pick up time on lap number 3, but instead in his qualifying, he picked up an extra 10th coming to the checker flag to put himself into the show, and now he's put himself inside the top 7 when we take the green flag.
Yeah, the ability to dig deep and pull out a quick lap like that is very impressive, and definitely not the easiest thing to do on these dirt courses.
Absolutely. These drivers about a couple moments away from taking the green flag. It's going to be an exciting one, to say the very least. Before we get to the green flag, once again, we like to look at today's race details for a feature presented by Competition Suspension Incorporated. CSI has become the shock of choice for many of today's top professionals. They've won over 5,000 races at many track, regional, and national championships around the world. To learn more, visit competitionsuspension.com. Distance tonight, 40 laps. With the fixed setups, there are caution flags, meaning if someone spins around or someone gets into contact, there is the chance for a yellow flag. But as we have seen, the action could be intense in those 40 laps. It's time to find out how they will line up after the inversion. Starting in the pole after the pill draw, it is Kenny Miller in the 23 machine. Chase Randall starts on the outside front row in the CSI machine. Chance Crum starts in third position alongside Austin Irvine. He's been one of the quicker drivers in his 51 machine throughout practice and qualifying. Brendan Rogers is up to the 5th position, with Jody Ancona, who was the top qualifier, all the way back in the 6th position. Tim Ryan starts in 7th, with Jake Erickson in 8th. Emerson Exum starts in 9th. And last week's feature race winner rounds out the top 10. It is Harry Stewart.
Moving a little further back into the grid, Roman Gephardt will start 11th, followed by our last driver from the top 12 in qualifying, Justin Brewster. Then we're going to have Colby Baker, Michael Sellers, Jason Bright, Justin Thomas, Christian Bruno, and Cole Newhofen, all drivers who transferred in from our heat races.
That's a look at your 18 driver field for tonight's action. Let's take a quick look at the track conditions because they have changed fairly dramatically compared to when we showed them in practice. Take a look at that Fahrenheit temperature for the track. It's down to 73 degrees for the green as well. The humidity is picked up.
Yep, that's going to mean a track possibly drying out as we get colder and humidity changing as well. So this could play a little bit of havoc. Good thing these drivers have gotten quite a few laps now on this racing surface. Hopefully they're all able to figure it out.
Drivers all set to go behind the iRacing official race truck. Miller's off the circuit. He's onto the loud pedal. Green flag is out. We're underway for the feature race for round number 2 of the CSI Shocks Fall Series. Already Randall trying to ride the cushion. Miller preferring the middle line. Other drivers riding along the berm of the racetrack, including Rogers. He's making it 3 wide for second and third positions.
Got ready to start at this race. Pretty much how you would expect. Lots of 3 and 4 wide now racing throughout the field. We were about 4 wide for third there for a second, and looks like they're going to make it that way here momentarily.
A lot of drivers already trying to send slide jobs for days in amongst the Hornets' nest. Chance Crum amongst the drivers, along with Emerson Exum, trying to dive their way through. But Chance Crum hit one of the tires on the bottom of the racetrack, loses some speed, and his CSI sponsored machine.
That's the risk you take when you run that inside line at the track like this. You have to be precise. And unfortunately, these drivers are riding right on the edge, and sometimes a couple of them are going to fall over.
Looks like his car is indeed okay for the time being. No significant damage. But the battle is still heating up for second. Irvine tried to slide from the middle. Randall still rides along the cushion. Ancona tries to fall behind. Rogers also amongst the fight. You can see, though, the difference between the speed of the cushion, which we didn't see as much in the heat races and even in practice, compared to that middle to bottom line. So much more momentum carried amongst that top line.
Yeah, it seems like this track has changed drastically from what we had earlier on in the evening. That's going to change the format. We got a slide job there in second spot. Did not quite go completely to plan. Looks like it's going to slow up the field a little.
Drivers like Justin Thomas ducking in. Colby Baker upside down with Justin Brester. Caution flag is out on lap number 9. 32 laps to go as they line up behind the iRacing official pace truck. It looked like a couple drivers involved in this one. Let's take a look at the GSRC replay, Chris, because a couple cars flipped over. Have to take a look at this once again. You can see Baker and Brester making some contact. Justin Thomas had also just ducked in the pits. Let's take a look at this from the sky cam. You can see Baker trying to ride along the cushion just prior before this incident, before Brester had to dodge. That was another car actually in the middle of the racetrack. That was Chance Crum that caused the collision. And it looked like Crum made contact there, Chris, with Harry Stewart.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Justin, looks like Stewart and Crum make contact. Crum's car gets upset, and then unfortunately the rest of the field behind him, not enough time to respond.
Meanwhile, the green flag is back out in live action. We head towards. The caution might be about to come out. Yes, it will, because it's been right behind the leaders. Contact from the back of one of the leaders. Flips over one more car. It's Austin Irvine. Quickly behind the iRacing official pace truck we go. Coming into turn number 1. Irvine ran into the back of the outside of the race leader and Kenny Miller and flipped himself over. Wow.
That was a pretty significant hang time there, Justin.
Tim Ryan also made some contact as Irvine is now gone off the racetrack. But the pace laps, we should note again, go very quick at this racetrack. Only about a minute or so to take a deep breath between the caution flags with just the small distance at this quarter-mile racetrack.
Yeah, you're right, Justin. This quarter-mile track really speeds along the program in ways that you don't really expect, but everything goes a little bit quicker from caution laps to the racing itself.
Looks like a race leader having a bit of technical issues. He'll still take the green flag as Rogers tries to ride the cushion. 3 wide already for third spot on back. Randall along with Ancona. Kona trying to fight hard for the position as they continue to swap positions.
Look at that great run that Rogers gets, though, as they head off into turns 3 and 4. Looks like he may be able to have some momentum to try to make a move here.
Rogers trying to ride the cushion. Can he get the momentum, though, to get to the outside of the 4? Nearly hits the outside wall trying to make the position. Kenny Rogers fighting hard, but Rogers with that mistake has allowed Ancona to try and go for the slide job. Ancona can't clear on by for second, however, as the blue number 20 moves back to second.
Well, Rogers still not knowing when to fold him as he moves to the outside of Kenny Miller.
Still a lot of drivers fighting for position here. 20 laps to go. This next time by. Contact brings up the caution. Ancona goes around. A couple others flipping to the back of the field. Michael Sellers amongst the drivers involved. Caution flag is out. And the main trigger came from Jake Erickson. He had been having a bit of technical issues, but got pushed up into the outside wall before collecting more drivers into turn 1 and 2. Chris, your thoughts here on this incident?
Well, just kind of watching the replay along with you guys here at home, and unfortunately it looks like the car just kind of got away from him, got hooked, maybe caught a root, and went for a tumble, and you're going to have a bad time when your car ends up upside.
One thing to note, there is a 10 incident point limit. In this series, we've seen a few drivers reach that limit in the opening rounds feature race. Some drivers already in danger of that as we get ready for the green flag already. Coming to 17 laps to go. Kenny Miller back in control of the field. Brendan Rogers in second. Ancona and Storr, along with Axum, round out the top 5. Green flag is back out. Miller brings them back down to the turns 1 and 2. Keep an eye, though, in the Hornet's Nest as they fight 3, 4 wide, sliding their way through the exit of turn 2.
Miller still doing a tremendous job out in front, running probably what seems to be the perfect line. He's not driving away from him, but he sure is making that car very wide.
Rogers really fighting hard on the cushion as tight as he can get along the wall, getting a bit of a run. Trying to follow him behind, though, is your feature winner from last week, and Harry Storr. Storr just took third spot away, and Kona's trying to find him back. And Kona trying to go for the slide job, can't cut in front of Stewart. Rogers trying to slide job his way for the race lead. Cuts his way up into the top side. Miller crosses him over, side by side for the top spot. Miller tries to slide job his way back into the top. Rogers goes for the momentum. Cars get turned as the caution flag comes out. Who just got the lead is the question in the scoring loops.
Well, Rogers definitely passed him, but it's all going to come down to when the caution came out.
Rogers, when he went for that side job crossover move, collected the third place car, and that was Axum who got turned around to bring the yellow flag. This was as Rogers went towards the middle line from the top. Keep an eye on the left front wheel, right rear wheel, I should say, of Rogers, as it comes across the right front of Axum out of the exit of 4. You can see right there, just ends up turning it around in a 360, and that brings out the yellow flag and collects an additional driver hard into the wall.
Yeah, unfortunately, kind of a product of the racing here when you're putting on those big slide jobs and you're driving from the top to the bottom and then back up to the top. Unfortunately, running every single line at one time makes it a little bit difficult for other cars to know where you're going to go, and looks like, unfortunately, some drivers getting collected as a consequence.
Right now, 13 drivers on the racetrack. Drivers like Randall, who are amongst that caution flag. That driver who slammed the outside wall hard. In the garage area, green flag is back out. The race leader, currently scored as Miller, but he is having those technical issues, so Rogers is the man who took the green flag, and Rogers is saying, my goodness, because Miller is officially, it looks like, gone from the racetrack. Heartbreak for Miller with under 8 laps to go.
Well, that's going to be a game changer for sure, as we have drivers 3 wide for second place.
Joey Ancona trying to slide job his way back from the bottom all the way up to the cushion. They're 3 wide, however, for third spot. All the drivers trying to send it. Gephardt makes contact. Cars collide behind. We still stay green. Caution flag now comes out as Bruno gets turned around. Coming towards 5 laps to go, Christian Bruno, the 6th place car, just got turned around just enough to bring up the yellow flag and that stack up.
Yeah, once again, a kind of a product of the racing. These drivers giving it their all, and unfortunately, car got away and collected a few people behind him.
It's going to make it a very interesting finish to this race. Brendan Rogers is in control of the field, and because of how quick the pace laps are at this racetrack, we're looking at what might be a 2-lap shootout, maybe even a 3-lap shootout when we get this green flag back going. Here's a quick rundown to your top 5. Rogers, Ancona, Cole Newhoffman quietly up to 3rd, Harry Stewart, one of the biggest movers, up to 4th, and Chance Crum, despite that contact we've seen him before, has worked his way back up to the top 5. Lights are out on top of the pace truck. It is a 3-lap shootout to decide round number 2. Rogers hits the loud pedal, green flag is out. Newhoffman really struggling on the bottom side. He tries to ride the tires and nearly gets flipped over, losing a ton of spots as they get through to go this time by.
Looks like Brendan Rogers will be leading, but he's going to have Joey Ancona breathing down his neck here in the closing laps.
Can Rogers close it out? He's got a 1.5 lap to go mark on the racetrack. White flag is up at the stand. Race is official. The blue number 20 tries to ride along the cushion. Can Ancona try and send it in? Turn 3 is the question. Stewart tries to follow along. Ancona decides to ride the cushion. Rogers takes the checkered flag. He'll win the feature race for round number 2 for the CSI Shocks Fall Series 15 and over feature. An exciting finish to this one. Rogers able to hold on, and for the 2nd time in a row, one of the top runners, a part of the invert, is able to take the checker flag. Rogers is that man tonight. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your post-race coverage. You're watching the Global Sim Racing channel live from the virtual Limaland Motorsports Park. Welcome back, everyone, to the virtual Limaland Motorsports Park for more coverage of the CSI Shocks Fall Series 15 and over class on the Global Sim Racing channel. It was an interesting race, to say the least, tonight for round number 2. In the end, though, it is Brendan Rogers. He started in 5th. He came home with the checkered flag tonight by half a second over Joey Ancona. Harry Stewart finished in 3rd with Chance Crum rounding out the top 4. Christian Bruno holds on to the top 5. Rest of the drivers finished 1 lap down or more. Cole Newhoffman, Roman Gephardt, Emerson Exum, along with Tim Ryan. Jason Wright rounded out the top 10 for feature.
Outside of the top 10 was Jake Erickson in 11th, followed by Austin Irvine. Then we're going to see Kenny Miller, Chase Randall, Michael Sellers, Justin Thomas, Colby Baker, and Justin Brewster completing the field.
Bad luck for Miller, we should note, had that technical issue after leading every single lap up to that point. But that's a look at your unofficial race results. But the man who comes home with the checkered flag in the end is Rogers. Brent Rogers joins us here in the broadcast booth. How are you feeling after that interesting feature race tonight?
Oh, I'm feeling good, man. Sometimes it works out. Last week it didn't work out too well for me, unfortunately. That's just racing. That's how it goes. I really am enjoying the invert. It kind of shakes things up, kind of puts guys a little further in the pack, instead of off the front row. So I'm enjoying the racing, man. It's been 2 good weeks for me, as far as enjoyability goes.
Let's talk about the battle for the race to lead. This is prior to Miller's technical issue. You were trying to fight hard along the cushion, trying to switch up lines a little bit. How difficult was it to try and find the right line to make the move prior to that issue?
Yeah, I mean, it really is a game of margins, and I made the bottom work early at the behest of my my sponsor Tops Up Here. I'm sure they don't like me running the bottom, but you gotta go where it's fast, and that's what worked early and where no one was. And then once I kind of got towards the point, I kind of moved it up to the top and tried to make that cushion work, but it's a long way around, and that entry's a tough pinch. So we just try to make it work and try not to hit anybody and try to be real clean. And yeah, man, he had some technical issues there. It's not really like how I like to do it, but you can't really do much about it. You just got to race on and hope he comes back with a little sturdier internet for the future. But no, I mean, it was a great race. Me and Joey had a good run, and just can't say enough about my sponsors Tub and D1RT and all the guys behind it. They're doing a good job.
Indeed they are, coming away with the checker flag tonight, but of course, some good luck tonight, as well as a good run overall. Next round, though, is at the dirt track at Charlotte. Your thoughts on that circuit?
Oh, if you've ever seen that joint, it is very different than Lanier and Limaland. So, I think hopefully we see some different guys up front and some different type of racing. And you never know, man. I like, change it all up, man. Try it all, we'll see what everyone's good at. And I don't hate it at all. So, you know what? We'll see how it goes. And I think it'll be a good race, just like we've seen already.
Second to last question. You mentioned one of your sponsors in, I believe, a Thub. What is Thub?
Oh, they're an awesome brand. They make some awesome clothes and backpacks, all type of apparel for racing, and they're just an awesome group of guys. They're doing a good thing, and they're just sponsoring racers, and they're trying to reach out to some sim racers, and fortunately they reached out to me, and we got a good thing going. So, they just go check them out. It's TUHB, Tops Up Here, bud. Go check them out, and look for them in the future, man. They're making good things happen.
Is there anything else you'd like to say, or anyone else you'd like to thank, rather, before we let you go?
Oh, just you guys as usual. I mean, you guys are the ones putting the show on. I mean, we're here racing, but you guys could be broadcasting any race, tonight, and there's a lot of it going on. And the fact that you guys are doing what you guys are doing for us means a lot to me. So I appreciate it, and I know the guys watching at home.
Congratulations on the feature race win tonight. We'll see you next week at the dirt track at Charlotte.
Thank you very much.
That was Brendan Rogers coming away with the checker flag tonight. He wins round number 2. Your quick final thoughts, Chris, before we say goodbye.
Another great night of racing here on the dirt, and I'm excited to be back for Charlotte.
I am too. But we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's exciting action from Limaland. We also like to thank Garrett Andrews for organizing this competitive fall series. A lot of action so far in these first 2 rounds. We also like to thank the company's provider software and hardware for broadcast listed up on your screen now. With additional thanks to Jugalon for providing all the music. See the screen for how to get a more full of great work. Thanks to the team today as well, Sean and Chris. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can check out our merchandise for sale at gsrc.storenvy.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel in one word, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube page as well as hit that big red subscribe button, as well as that notification bell on top of that, so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing channel. As discussed, the next round come up at the dirt track at Charlotte. The 15 over class that will be on December the 3rd. We also have a lot of upcoming other series listed up on your screen, including the 14 and under class, taking place here at Limaland tomorrow evening. So check those out and mark them down in your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.